Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Rob Simons, and I'm the board president of the Downtown Chamber Series. And I'm here joined by my fellow board member and Phoenix Music Institution unto himself, Dario Miranda. Welcome, Dario.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So, Dario, we've got some concerts coming up this weekend, October 9th, 10th, and 11th, and it features the work of George Crumb, in particular his famous string quartet, Black Angels. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with that piece and why you keep coming back to it because you find it so captivating.
Yeah, my introduction to that piece was actually the last time Downtown Chamber Series performed it, and phew, man, yeah, I'm going to be dancing about architecture here, but yeah, really, yeah, the experience of seeing that live, there are moments in my life that I can point to where music changed for me. My idea of what music can be, my idea of even what I like, what my taste is. And that is definitely one of those moments. Seeing that piece performed live really yeah, just kind of opened my eyes to what a live performance can be, what a piece of music can be, and just what an experience can be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was really important for me.
Was it the unorthodox parts of the music that you found so interesting? I mean, because there's all these extended techniques, using different instruments, wine glasses. Are those the things that caught your eye and caught your ear?
It definitely kept my interest through the performance. It was fascinating to watch these instruments played in these ways and seeing wine glasses tuned, and even Mark coming up and kind of talking a little bit about the piece beforehand. But at the time, I had been listening to music. I've always appreciated noise music and free jazz, things like that. But I like when those ideas, when that sort of unconventional way of playing an instrument is done to evoke an emotion or to tell a story, and that is definitely something that Black Angels does.
Mm-hmm. Mark talks about a little bit is not having any like cliche elements to it. It could, on the surface, it could seem a little bit like a gimmick, but it actually comes across in the live performance with a lot of clarity. And I think that's the thing that's special about the piece is when we think about avant-garde music or noise music or experimental music, sometimes there's like an unapproachability to it. But with this piece, I think the language is actually quite clear given how advanced and progressive it is. Dario, you've got kind of a bird's eye view in Phoenix. Tell us about the music scene at least. Talk to us about your roles, your various roles in the Phoenix music equilibrium.
I've I could say that I've been a part of the Phoenix music scene for maybe over 20 years. I've worked at record stores for over 20 years. I've been at Stinkweeds for maybe 18 years. I've played in many bands. I do live sound. I record bands for KJZZ for their Tiny Desert concerts. I'm now promoting shows in a more active way. That's something I've done for years, just putting on
Mm-hmm.
little pop-up shows where we kind of find non-venues, similar to how DCS does that. And yeah, so that's starting to get a little bit more momentum these days.
But you also helped present the Chamber Series last concert out at Mesa. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came together and what that's all about?
Absolutely. So Mesa Arts Center reached out to me. One of the people that worked for the Mesa Arts Center had been to a couple of the shows that I put on, and they had basically an open summer. They had a budget for their summer. They had a staff, but they don't really do a whole lot of programming in the summer. So they wanted to try to do something that was a little more locally focused. And they reached out to me to do that. And I this was the first time that I had ever done anything in that sort of capacity in a bigger room, that sort of production. And I saw that as an opportunity to highlight some of my favorite things happening in the city. So, along with some local bands, along with some artists from LA and other places that have connections to the city, I reached out to Downtown Chamber Series, um, seeing that as an opportunity to one, highlight something that I think is very important in this town, but also to maybe reach a different audience.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, so it was really great, them being open to that idea of having a rock band one night, a jazz group the next night, and then the Downtown Chamber Series.
Given this high level view of the city that you have in the music scene and your connection to it, how would you describe to someone that doesn't know what the Chamber Series is all about, how it fits into the broader aggregate offerings that the city has?
Something I often say about the Downtown Chamber series is this is why we live in a big city.
That's
I'll
great.
often talk about the fact that uh, when you're in a big city, you want that variety. You want to be surprised by things. You want to be able to experience something that in other places you might not have an opportunity to experience. And that's exactly what Downtown Chamber series is, and that's what I tell a lot of my friends, a lot of other music lovers in this town. And I tell them, you're going to get a different experience. You're going to experience something new. It's going to be impactful, and regardless of what style of music you like, I believe there's something to be gained from attending one of those concerts.
That's great. I love that idea of the amenities of the big city. But we all know that Phoenix is a big city, but it's still kind of growing into itself.
Yes,
So is that part the reason why you've decided to take on this more formal role in the Chamber series? And how do you see that role advancing all those wonderful things that you talked about in terms of growing the music variety and the music quality and quantity in the city?
absolutely. So my involvement with Downtown Chamber series for the past, maybe over 15 years, Mark and I have had many conversations, and I would often try to act as a bridge between these
Mm-hmm.
two worlds. Downtown Chamber series exists in a world with the Phoenix Symphony, a lot of classical performance, things like that. I tend to exist more in the world of more indie music and folk and experimental things like that. And for me, there's no difference there. I think DCS fits right into all those other things that I enjoy, mainly because a lot of the stuff that I enjoy, that's what they're pulling from. And that's something that I've always been a big fan of. Even listening to the Beatles, a lot of people might not know what their influences were. They may know about like Ravi Shankar and Indian music, but there's also they were listening to a lot of experimental music and experimental ideas. So that's something I feel like music is enriched by being influenced by things that are outside of that world. If you're a rock band that just listens to rock bands, what are you going to do new? What are you going to do that's interesting and new? But if you're a rock band that's listening to, Steve Reich, what are you going to do with that? So that's something that I think is very important for if you're going to have a thriving music scene, there needs to be variety. There needs to be outside influence on that scene and on those musicians. And that's something I would love to see happen. But also, just as a listener, as an audience member, I think it's important to, exercise your ears and exercise hearing different ideas and being open to those ideas. Because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that could say sitting through certain pieces may be a little challenging. I'm no different. There are definitely pieces that I'll sit through that are a little challenging. You really have to work to listen to them. But once you learn how to do that, you are hearing so many new ideas and hearing things in such a different way. And I think that's very important for listeners, musicians, everybody.
Dario, I think that's a great place to wrap up. So thank you for being such a cultural omnivore. And thank you for being such a link between and a bridge between all these different parts of the city. If you come to the shows this weekend, make sure and you see Dario, be sure to say hi. And thank you again, Dario, for making time to share your thoughts on Phoenix and Phoenix music scene. And we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks a bunch.